Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Friday Focus show on the Four Leaf Clover podcast. As you can see, the man to my left or right, I don't know, depending on what way you're looking at it, there Patrick is back. How is your old man, mate? How's he getting on, sir?
He's doing a lot better, Scotty. Thank goodness. Gave us a bit of a fright sort of around this time last week. So he's on the mend again. It's slow progress, but at least it's progress. He's moving forward. So thankfully, hopefully it looks as though he's on the mend. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. We've just been absolutely inundated with messages from everybody, from viewers, from other supporters clubs, from different people, from people who I don't even know. We've just been inundated with messages all week long of support. So it was great to see that. So just a wee update on him. He's definitely making progress. So let's just hope he keeps getting stronger by the day, and we'll get him home again soon.
Aye, loads of love and support, mate. Loads of comments when you weren't here as well, mate. So, aye, we wish you, John, all the very best, sir, for sure. Jerry, how are you getting on? You know, out gallivanting tonight and all away to any wee raves or nothing like that, sir?
Oh, no. Keep myself for tomorrow, Scott. So I'm keep myself for tomorrow. Go to go and enjoy it tomorrow again. Celtic being champions again. You can't no enjoy it. Great time. So if you're 50-50 tomorrow about, well, I go to Glasgow, or I go to meet my pals to go and celebrate it, get yourselves out. Because these things, you don't take it for granted. We go out there and enjoy it and keep it going. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow again, mate. And obviously next week as well. A week after that as well, probably, but and I'll keep the week. Mate, the weather's brilliant down here. You know what it's like when it's down here, the weather, it's walking the length of Drosny Solco's that prom. It's some sights and all, you know. So there's some crackpots out there as well. That weather's out, Scott. Looking forward to tomorrow, mate. You've got to keep celebrating these, so you do. We keep doing it. We're all 50-50 tomorrow. Get yourselves out there. When meet up with the family, friends. Enjoy your day, wherever you are. So that is, mate.
Aye. Bang on, mate. Exactly. Get out there and enjoy it because, it's not always going to be like this, believe it or not. You know,
it's going to get better. It's going to get better, Scott.
Hopefully it is going to get better, but yeah, it's gone through past history. Let's see what happens. So Brendan had his usual press conference this afternoon. Kasper Schmeichel was on there as well, chatting away. He was up there for player duties today. He had quite a lot to say about the comparisons, winning the league with Leicester City and winning the league with Celtic. A wee bit on Jamie Vardy as well, about probably being the best striker that he's had the fortune to play with. You know, his legacy at Leicester and things like that as well. And then they got to Brendan, who confirmed the news that we were all dreading. Paddy is that Rio Hatate will now be out for the rest of the season. Terrible news, mate.
Just the news we didn't want to hear, Scott. I was fortunate enough, I actually saw the game on Wednesday night. And just such an absolute waste. You know, you can talk all you like. I've seen people criticising Brendan for bringing him on when we were already leading 4-0 or 4-1, whatever it was. But he's just trying to give guys a run out and keep them fresh, keep them sharp for the cup final. But it was an absolutely shocking tackle. There was just no need for it whatsoever. A nothing ball out on the touchline. As Brendan says, all Rio was trying to do was stop the guy from booting the ball away down the field. But the guy just, to follow through like that, and you could see the animation in Brendan along the touchline, and you don't see that very often with Brendan Rodgers. You know, Brendan was up close and personal to that and saw it and knew exactly what it was. It was a cheap one, it was a nasty one, and there was no need for it at that stage in the game. So, unfortunately, it looks as if Rio's done for the season. But disappointed for ourselves, but disappointed for the player as well, because it would have been nice for him to be. Nice for him to be on the pitch at Hampden when we clinch the treble. But listen, it's not to be. It's part and parcel of the game. But given the circumstances, and it was very, very disappointing from the Aberdeen player.
Aye, it was a shocker, mate. He knew exactly what he was doing. It was nasty. It was dirty, and just one of the bad ones. A couple of people asking where Michelle is. Nobody asking where Andy is, surprisingly. That's not very nice, is it? Andy's away watching a George Michael tribute act tonight, and Michelle is working, but you can see her in the comments there. Jerry, really, really bad news, mate, about Rio Hatate. Hopefully, we were hoping that he would get to, play in the cup final at least, because there's massive rumours now that that's probably his last game that he's played for Celtic as well. So, but just bad news, mate. Feel really bad for him.
Aye, that's it, Scott. I mean, years ago, managers would come out and you'd maybe still think they would make the finals and make the big games, but when they're injured, dude. There's no kid on, that way. He's definitely out. So listen, it's a massive blow. We've got cover there in McCowan and Bernardo, but listen, these guys don't see the passes Tati can make. I think maybe frustrates enough quite a lot with trying passes. Nobody else will try. But he's a massive, massive loss for us, I feel. And you know what? I feel as if he was just getting on to probably his best ever football consistency-wise.
Yeah.
I feel as if he was just starting to do that, Scott. And it's a big blow. Hindsight, I know, should have been on. Should have put him on. Everything's hindsight, and life's all about ifs and buts. You just feel as if we can maybe kept the guy off. I think he's our best player now. I mean, he's on fire, we're on fire. So for me, listen, I'm not going to go in it. I think it's massive, massive blow for us, Tati. And I think you're spot on, Scott. I think we might not see him in a Celtic jersey again. I hope I'm 100% wrong. You might not see him in a Celtic again, mate.
Aye, there's massive rumours that he's going to be for the off. One of the other things, Paddy, that Brendan mentioned is, I didn't know about this till the day as well, is that James Forrest is the man who's going to present Celtic with a league title at the game tomorrow as well, obviously because of his achievements and all the rest in the game. So that's an amazing touch as well, isn't it, pal?
Aye, it's a touch of class from the club there, definitely. And thoroughly merited from Jamesy. Great servant to the club. He's now the most decorated at Celt. More medals than any of the other Lisbon Lions or any of the rest of the guys. So that just shows you the esteem in which he's held. So, but I was just wondering, Scotty, when I saw it, I just thought, I wonder would Jamesy swap a goal tomorrow for taking out the trophy. I'm not sure which of the two he would rather do. I'm sure it'll be a fantastic honour for him. And the one thing it is about James, you saw him after the game the other night, he's not one for the spotlight. James Forrest is not one of these guys that wants the spotlight on him. You saw him when the guys were trying to push him towards the supporters Wednesday night, and he just didn't want any part of it. Jamesy is not that kind of a guy. He would rather have the focus on the team. Even in his interview after the game, he was talking about they were making a big deal about the goal, but Jamesy just said, no, it's about the team. It's not about me scoring a goal. If I score a goal, great. If not, it's not meant to be. So a wonderful honour for him, and just what a day that would be for Jamesy if he could round it off with a wee goal in the match, get an appearance, stick a goal away, and get that record of having scored a goal in every single season he's been a Celtic player. But no, a fantastic touch from the club and a wonderful honour for Jamesy, and what a way to finish the season for James Forrest.
Aye, unbelievable, man. And it'll be a great touch for his family to see that as well. And Jerry, probably the last thing that he mentioned was that Cameron Carter-Vickers is going to be back for tomorrow as well, which is, again, fantastic news. But one of the guys who we're going to come on to in a minute when we cover the Aberdeen game, who was up there with Forrest as man of the match for me, was Naroki. Would you like to see Naroki keep that place and in their way CCV, or do you think he'll keep that balance of a left player and a right player in there tomorrow?
I don't know, but nobody knows what Rodgers would do, to be fair. We only guessed it, maybe only guess what he thinks. As you say, Rocky, I don't think he's done anything wrong in any games I've seen him, to be fair. And for some reason he just feels as if he's left out. Other guys are making mistakes quite regularly. So I don't know what happens. I don't know what happens in the training. I've had Margaret. I've told you this before. I'm not interested in what you do at training. I know you've got to train hard. Understand that. But there's guys said it never trained hard and just every Saturday came, he switched on. So I don't know if Brendan, the manager that takes the training, everything into consideration, Scott, when it comes to picking his team. So when you get managers that will stick by guys, trusted all day, every week for them. Some guys I played with were injured all the time, but they turned up on a Saturday. Stuart Beattie, can you remember him? Remember? He played with one game, but he played with me at Blackburn Rovers. He never trained at all, Scott. And he came in and he get one wee whiskey. He'd have said back then, we had one wee whiskey on a Saturday, centre half, and he was in it. He won everything. And that was it. You never seen him the following Saturday again. These are the things the manager still played him and he was captain. And as I say, I can understand new modern football, everything's the fitness and hang me, but I think I do feel sorry a wee bit for the Rocky. No, and now I think we can realise now, definitely no, we can't sell him. You've got to put him on loan and get him games. Because if he can pop in every so often and play well, I wonder what it'd be like with all the games under his belt, Scott. So that'll be interesting this summer. It'll be interesting this summer to see what happens with Rocky. Saying that, I know, on tap, we still need another big, better centre half in. Before we even consider another cracking big centre half, mate, to cover even CCV up there with CCV.
You're bang on,
there, mate.
Bang on, mate. And we've got Lagerbielke as well to come back, who's been doing well in Holland. So if they don't, stump up the cash, which I don't think they can afford to, then we'll see what's going on with him as well. Aye, so that's Brendan's press conference. So there was a wee game during the week as well, Paddy. Myself and Andy jumped on the post-match show. Celtic made 8 changes to the side against Hibernian. We put our own little mock team up on the community page for the podcast. And we actually predicted 9 out of that 11, Barron, Ralston and McGregor. We went for Engels and AJ there. So we get the 9 out of 11, Paddy. Were you quite happy to see that team out, ringing the changes?
Absolutely, Scott. It was great to see. And listen to Johnny Kenny speaking afterwards. They were told after the game on Saturday. Everybody who was playing on Wednesday night was told after the game on Saturday. So he gave them a few days to get prepared and get their head around the fact that they were going to be playing up at Pataudry. So it was great to see. And you know what? It was just great to see a lot of these guys, we don't get to see them regularly. We certainly don't get to see them starting games. And it was just good to get a proper look at them. Some of them, I know, and it's good to see Yang back. I thought he looked really sharp and really bright. But even Luke McCowan, Paulo Bernardo, I thought Big Nawrocki was absolutely outstanding. The big guy was just different class, and I keep saying it, Brendan sees him every day, so there has to be something. But when you think back to the very start when Brendan first came back and the game at Kilmarnock in the League Cup where we were actually beaten, where Nawrocki only lasted a few minutes and then he was off, at that time he just seemed to be breaking down with injuries at that time, and that's part and parcel of the game. But you need to be available, and maybe Brendan thought at that stage, look, this guy's not reliable, he's not available. We need to look at something else. But from any time he's been called upon this season, he's been absolutely outstanding. So yeah, it was lovely for to see, and it was nice for me. The one I was most pleased about was to see Sinisalo get another game, because I know he wants to try and give Kasper Schmeichel a few minutes as well. But it was nice to see the big lad back in again, because he did really well in the games that he played while Kasper was unavailable. So it was really, really good to see him again, and you can see the understanding again. He's building up a really good understanding with the guys playing in front of him. Brendan speaks about the structure of the team and the way they play. So just great to see. Actually, whenever I saw the team, I was just thinking, I'm really looking forward to this now. Sometimes these games kind of a bit of an end of season feel to them, but like you and me talked about, Scotty, before, Brendan has given them targets. And obviously one of the targets was you're going to be playing in this Aberdeen game before the end of the season. And it's not just an end of season friendly here. This is a game with stuff at stake. There's points at stake here. There's cup final places up for grabs. So when I saw the team, it really did whet my appetite for what was a terrific game.
Aye, it was unbelievable, mate. And I bang on, Jerry. Like I said, mate, we put this up as virtually our teammate for Wednesday night. Was there any sort of surprises in there for you, pal?
No, not really. I thought that could have been the Hibs game as well, Scott. No, think so. That could have been
Aye.
the same kind of players. What I will say is, the big boy at the back, Schiller, I don't know if he's the answer, getting him
Nah.
signed up. Don't know, I'm being honest. The big man, usually when you sign for somebody, be honest, the adrenaline and the old, I've signed for somebody, the first 4 games, 3-4 games, the big man looked apart. But he's starting to look sluggish and jumping in, maybe those 33-year-old. I don't know if he's come to sign me. But Paddy was spot on with Yang and Naroski, McCowan, Bernardo. But you know what? You expect this for your Finch players, not just because of the cup final next week. That's the performance he's got. That's the performance you've got to be putting on in every week. Not just because I know some of them have done well, but some of them have started for Celtic. Let's be honest, they've been terrible. But that's the performances you need. If you want to play for Celtic, that's the performance you need to play every week, these guys. So for me, I'll be hanging on. I don't think the result, for me, I'm with Rodgers on the, I don't think it'll matter, the cup final, that result, for me. We've seen it over the years with Strachan's. We beat St Mirren 1-0, 7-1, we beat St Mirren. Then 4 days later, we could beat 1-0 in the Scottish Cup after them. Same players, same team. So for me, Rodgers is bang on with that. It's a different ball game, a cup final, a one-half game. Aberdeen can't be any worse than that now. I mean, I know their defence is terrible. But listen, Celtic, brilliant performance. And I'll tell you, all right, we'll talk about the press week Pelly. There's that, so I'm hearing. I think the boy Ricardo, I heard he's fair, Shire and all, yeah. Heard he's fair, so he looks the part and all, he's quite confident taking the ball in. Great to see him. I think Kenny's only 20 years old and all, Paddy, is he?
Yeah,
21, 20.
Yep.
So 1 minute we've no got him to coming through, then all of a sudden you start to see, I know the boy was signed for Ireland, but Ricardo and that, this is the things we need to see now coming through as well. Listen, I think McCowan might step in now for a tatty for the final. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there, Scott. As I say, that's the performance you need for the Finch players for the word go, Scott, when you get a chance of that jersey. Put pressure on Brendan Rodgers. Tell them you want to play for this team. So you do, even when you start again. But I'm looking forward to it. As I say, a great performance again. As Paddy says, I know, Scott, you get to the end of the season, some games are just played out, aren't they? So they are.
Aye.
That was great. That was cool. Listen, I'll tell you about Celtic as well, by the way. I don't know. It's the working after the ball as well, Rodgers has them.
Yeah.
I know we play good football, but it's the work rate after the ball is phenomenal. Still look fit and this time of the year. So fair play to Brendan for that as well. But I think we look great after the ball as well. So I'm looking forward to this tomorrow and Saturday. I keep saying it's just the end of a great season, mate.
Aye, you're bang on, mate. You're bang on. And that's something that Brendan did mention in his press conference as well today. He says it's not about the 70% that you're on the ball, it's about the 30% when you're not on it as well. You know, you do need to work hard. So that's a great point, mate. So Paddy, just looking at it, mate, unbelievable. Big Naroki up first for the corner kick. Solid, great header. Yang, as you mentioned as well, had a great game. Luke McCowan. Johnny Kenny as well. Just all over the pitch. Then Adam Ida getting his goal at the end. Might have been a tap-in, but he had a cracking volley just before that. Just all-round fantastic play. Bit of a shitty goal to lose, really, with Schlupp and Trusty getting it all wrong.
Yeah.
But barring that, mate, superb, unbelievable performance. I don't think any is expected 5-1 up there with that team.
No, not especially with Aberdeen maybe looking at putting a marker down for the cup final. And as Jerry said there, without making too much of it, like, you do fear for Aberdeen in this final because that's them at Pittodrie, and they were trying to pen us in there and not let us play, but if they come out, if they come out at Hampden, which they're going to have to do, they're going to come out and have to come out and have a go at Hampden. You don't win a cup final by sitting back and trying to defend it. They're going to have to come out, and if they come out and leave spaces, I think it could be a long afternoon for them. But no, the other night was just fantastic, and as I say, it was just brilliant to see some of the fringe players, and like we talked about it at the beginning of the season with some of the guys that were on the bench, and as Jerry said, it's not just a matter of trying to play your way into the team for the cup final. If you hope to displace these guys, if you're looking to take the shirt from Maida, or you're looking to take the shirt from McGregor, or if you're looking to take the shirt from Cameron Carter-Vickers, you've got to produce. You've absolutely got to produce. You just can't come in and play well in one game and say, that's it, that's me, I'm the number one guy now. You've got to produce the goods. And too many times earlier on in the season, that's what they weren't doing. Yang, Palma, one or two other guys, they weren't producing the goods when they came in. But as Jerry said, as the season has worn on, especially that's why it's so disappointing for me about Rio Hatate. Maybe not entirely his Celtic career, but certainly this season, he was hitting a rich vein of form that we haven't seen consistently this season so far. He's played here and there in games and stuff, but he's just been enjoying a really good consistent spell there, and it's just very disappointing to see it end the way it does. If it may even be his last game, but I'm just disappointed for the guy that he's not going to get the chance to play in the cup final. But no, a thoroughly dominant performance the other night. The goal was the one blemish on the on the entire performance, and I think it was just like a lack of communication between Trusty and Schlupp, who incidentally were very poor on the night, the two of them, to be honest. I thought Schlupp in particular was he was miles off it. I said that to Jerry. He's just, I don't know what's about him. He's, as Jerry said, one of these guys who looked absolutely brilliant when he first came in, but the longer it's gone on, I don't know. I'm thinking now, I'd be surprised if Celtic tried to make that a permanent deal now, based on what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Certainly early on, yes, but not over the last few weeks. Big Nawrocki for me, like he just looks a different player, and he looks an upgrade on Trusty, to be quite honest. He definitely looks like an upgrade on Trusty to me. There was a time where we were probably talking about either or whatever, but for me, if he's fully fit and he's available, to me, Nawrocki moves ahead of Trusty in the pecking order as far as I'm concerned. Trusty's not a bad big player, don't get me wrong. I've nothing against the guy, but he doesn't seem to be as composed and steady as Big Nawrocki. And he showed a side there when he scored the goal. He showed something that we've never seen before. Fair enough, it was a bit of a mismatch with a marking at the corner, but he still had to be physical. He still had to get in there. He still had to shake his man off. And then not only that, to get the header down and get it away from the goalkeeper. It's a goal that we don't see very often from Celtic from set pieces. We should score a lot more when you consider the number of corners that we get and the delivery that we get from guys like Engels and Nicholas Kuhn and stuff like that. So listen, it was a thoroughly dominant performance. 5-1 doesn't even tell the half of the story. There was a few times in both halves, if we just had played a different pass or took a different option, we would have been in again. So Aberdeen were very fortunate to get away at 5-1. Thoroughly dominant and just really brilliant and really refreshing to see the fringe guys come in and play very, very well.
Aye, bang on, mate. And Jerry, who was it that stood out for you? Was it your Nawrockis and your Forest, or did anybody else catch your eye?
God, it says Nawrocki sound. Wee McCowan buzzing about. Kenny took that goal. I like that because he was that quick across the defender. Bang. That's a great finish. That's his thing, mate. But I'm just thinking about the season there. That's three guys who own 20 goals. And Ida, Kuhn, Mida. And by the way, the three midfielders have scored 10 goals and on 11.
Yeah.
Tati, Engels, and McGregor. And we, Forrest Amora, picking up his 26. Winners medal Amora, Unbelievable, Scott. And I didn't realise, see if he gets that goal, Scott, he's actually matching Paul McStay. Paul McStay scored in every season. So there you go. So he's actually matching Paul McStay tomorrow if he gets that goal. So, listen, tomorrow all about getting the medals and enjoying yourself tomorrow. Hopefully no silly injuries tomorrow again, Scott. Because to me, it's all about the final now. So tomorrow, it's all about making sure we do the right thing. We can't get McGregor injured now tomorrow or something. I'd rather see him just out together all tomorrow.
Yeah.
But the players will want to be party, won't they, tomorrow? So, but as I keep saying, I think for me it's all about the final now. Just get the game done with tomorrow, celebrate it, and let's look forward to the treble, mate.
Aye, you're bang on, mate. You're bang on. Thanks for that, lads. So I've found a wee happy-go-lucky story for you this evening to talk about. We keep talking about the big fish in the pond, the teams at the top of European football just getting, just pulling away and pulling away and pulling away, and nothing's coming down for the sort of wee teams. So I found this story that I thought I'd share with you, obviously to do with the Champions League. So clubs could take an even greater vested interest in how Celtic and Rangers got on in next season's Champions League based on the new rules. Now, both teams are not in the Champions League as it stands, but if both teams get there, then this will be the case. SPFL clubs could be in line for major UEFA payouts thanks to a new proposed rule change designed to reward clubs for developing Champions League talent. Hibs and St Mirren would have been among the top beneficiaries last season based on John McGinn's surge and elite level with Aston Villa, for example. Pressure has been put on European football's governing body to revamp the solidarity payment system with clubs lower down the food chain, calling for a fairer distribution of wealth. The current system sees 7% of overall prize money dished out evenly between clubs not in European competition. There's a feeling it doesn't go far enough with TV money soaring and the clubs competing, particularly in the Champions League, taking home a greater and greater share of the wealth. One solution proposed by the Union of European Clubs would see a further 5% of the prize money split between non-competing clubs, but this would be based directly on their role in developing players who compete in the Champions League. Known as Player Development Reward, the complicated calculations would be based on minutes played by players currently in the Champions League. Well, they were under the age of 23 and at clubs currently not competing. A report from The Independent singles out St Mirren as one example who would profit. Based on the 98 games John McGinn played for them while under 23 and the 720 minutes he played for Aston Villa in last season's Champions League, St Mirren would have banked £220,000 were the rules in place last season. Hibs, who also didn't play in Europe this season, would be in line for a similar payout due to the role in McGinn's rise. From next season, however, should Hibs finish third, they won't be eligible for any payout, since it's reversed for clubs not competing in European competition. Then to calculate it essentially means that any team who doesn't qualify for Europe will be eligible for case in player who played for them under the age of 23 features in the Champions League on a sliding scale based on how many minutes they play. That could spell good news for Queen's Park, Dundee United, who miss out on Europe. If Andy Robertson racks up the minutes for Liverpool in next season's competition, it could also mean a vested interest in how Celtic fare for several clubs within the SPFL. And finally, Luke McCowan, who played for Dundee and Ayr United, Greg Taylor, Kilmarnock are among the SPFL players, clubs who would be hoping to see feature regularly if the hoops come through, qualifying under the proposed new rule. Liam Scales would also be one Shamrock Rovers would hold a vested interest in, having played 370 minutes in last season's competition. So, Paddy, it's good to see that this money is starting to get distributed properly now. And the teams that these guys are, bringing on, for example, Shamrock Rovers, are going to get a big slice of the pie for these smaller clubs.
It's great to see, Scotty, and it's long overdue. We've talked about it many times about the. These are the clubs at the grassroots level where these players initially start and they develop. And you've used those examples there. The likes of Greg Taylor, Luke McCowan, other guys, who've come through the smaller clubs and have got to move to Celtic. Liam Scales from Shamrock Rovers, and those sums of money, there. I know it's not in the grand scheme of things in what the European giants are talking about, but for St Mirren, the likes of 220,000, that's a $250,000 there. Almost $250,000 for a club like St Mirren. That could do wonders for, in terms of might not maybe buy them many players, but it could do wonders for their infrastructure, their club, and putting in place stuff around the stadium and what have you. The same for Shamrock Rovers. To get a financial injection, of something like that there would make a huge difference to them. So it's great to see, but in typical UEFA fashion, it's not exactly very easy to work out who gets what and when they get it and why they get it. It's not, it's not like UEFA to, they seem to have a habit of putting out these things that are not very simple to understand, but definitely a great initiative, and anything that sort of brings back vital money to those clubs who basically give these players the start in their careers and give them the platform that then eventually want to move to a bigger club. It's just fantastic to see. And the other thing, Scotty, that it will do, it will also maybe focus the minds of the likes of Celtic and these other teams who play regularly in Europe, to look at the Scottish talent that's out there, and maybe think, we maybe have a look at that guy from Kilmarnock or Motherwell or Dundee or whatever, because if you're gonna get a player there and you're going to develop him and he's going to move and play in the Champions League, that's just fantastic. So it may actually lead to to more of a production line of young Scottish players coming through as well. But no, fair play to them for doing it, and it's a great boost for all the smaller clubs who, as I say, who give these players the initial platform and spend a lot of time and a lot of money developing them, and then some of the big clubs come in and take them away. So when you see the likes of the examples there, just the likes of John McGinn, Andy Robertson at Liverpool, there are one or two other ones as well there. So you've Lewis Ferguson there playing in Italy now with Bologna. That can come back to some of the smaller teams as well. So just fantastic to see. And as I say, for me, it would be I've always been a fan of Celtic. Maybe signing more Scottish players, but it is difficult for them. The first thing that a Scottish player wants to do, he wants to play. And you're not always going to get game time if you join Celtic. But just a fantastic initiative and great to see. And I'm sure all the other smaller clubs will release the extra money.
Bang on, mate. And Chris M here has come up with a great point. That seems like a break-even mechanism for smaller clubs because they lost younger players from bigger clubs paying the compensation development fee. So they'll get the development fee, Jerry, and then they'll get the sort of parachute payments, we'll call them, further down the line if these players progress. So, for example, as Paddy said there, the likes of, for example, if we sign Lennon Miller, Motherwell develop that boy, they'll get a decent fee, obviously, off us. But further down the line, it looks like they would get money from this initiative now as well. So great news all round, really, for the sort of smaller clubs.
Aye, listen, I know we always look to the football inside it, Scott, but that maybe keeps 5 or 6 people in a job at these smaller clubs behind the scenes as well. Yeah. So when it comes to when I was like Kilmarnock now, if you went in a division, the first thing we done was just 20 bodies went at the club. You couldn't afford to keep 20 folk in, so money like that keeps other people in jobs and stuff at the park. Listen, we're at the in Scottish football, we're at the top of the spectrum, so we can go and see Celtic pull in great money, we support them well. We put a lot of money in as well, by the way, as fans. But doing it to other clubs where they're fighting for everything, any penny they can get, the managers maybe get that kind of money. That would maybe keep them going for 2 seasons. As Paddy said, 200 odd grand at St Mirren. That keeps the lights on. The boy Robinson getting that kind of money can bring in. Why the Wheeling deal? 3 players, 2 players, 3 players, and the wages, everything. So you can see where it helps because, listen, as the Champions League is bigger, the teams that are getting in it's getting bigger and pulling away as well for the other clubs. So it's a great thing to be doing. It could be a wee bit more because I think they see it as that and the big leagues are starting to spread away as well. So listen, if they're doing all the hard work at the start with these young players, but it's only rightly so they get something out of it, Scott, innit? Because that's where they learn their trade to start with. But so I take it if somebody like you say Lewis Ferguson, would that say went in Champions League next year, would that be Hamilton Accies and Aberdeen?
Yeah.
Aye. Both just making sure aye. So this is just the first club it's spread over to the clubs he's played with, innit? So
under 23, aye. Whoever's developed them under 23, mate.
Up to under 23, is it? But listen, aye, because I say we just go and see Celtic and support what we see and go and enjoy it. And I can just imagine what it's like it. Need respect by Hamilton Accies, Partick Thistle, St Mirren's of the world, all trying to pull in every penny they can for the commercial and everything, So, because they don't get it in off the fans, so they try and get it in everywhere else. So, listen, it's all hard work for these clubs, week in, week out, survival. So all this money helps. So it's a great thing. So it's got brilliant news for the smaller clubs across Europe. Help
Aye.
everybody.
I seen it, mate, and I thought it was just a feel-good story. You don't really get many of them with UEFA, so I thought I'd fling it in there just to let everybody know about that. So, on the 21st of May, 2003, you'll probably remember this night. I was in the stadium, luckily, with a good friend of mine. I met our Jerry, our Ben O'Madena. He was in 24 Hour Square partying before it as well. I remember seeing him there. It's nearly the anniversary of Celtic versus Porto in Seville. So we're going to do a couple of wee things. We're going to have a wee chat about it tonight, and we'll wait until our Michelle and our Andy's back and probably finish it off with the likes of the Liverpool game and stuff like that on the road to Seville, and then we'll finish off obviously next week with the anniversary. We'll have a wee chat about it on one of the podcasts. I've got a good friend of mine waiting in the wings who's going to jump on with us in a minute and have a chat about the men against boys game, the Blackburn Rovers game. He's a big Blackburn fan, and he's patiently waiting in the wings. But first of all, before we get Ryan on, this man was having a wee chat about Celtic. I'm sorry to put that picture up. I apologise. I was there and he was walking towards me, kissing his medal, and I wanted to run on the pitch and roundhouse his ass as well, but unfortunately we couldn't do it. So Jose Mourinho has paid tribute to Celtic 22 years, Jesus Christ. 22 years on from the UEFA Cup final clash in Seville. Mourinho highlighted the lasting impact of the game and his respects for Celtic after that night. Mourinho led Porto to a 3-2 extra time win over Celtic in the 2003 final, but it's clear the memory still stirs strong emotions. The former Chelsea and Real Madrid boss has long spoken of his admiration for Scottish football. He grew up watching Scotland at World Cups and remembers players from that era. But it was the Seville final, that truly left its mark on him. Something that no other team has been able to replicate against Mourinho since. He said, even around 30 years later, I still feel that connection because it was an important part of my formation. When I remember Scotland growing up, I remember the Scotland I loved as a fan. I was following World Cups, and I remember that generations, the likes of Graham Souness and Alan Hansen. And later on, I played Celtic in the UEFA Cup final. And that was a match that put my heart rate at the highest it's ever been because of the intensity, the spirit, the determination of that team. So hard, so difficult to play against. I think it's part of the Scottish culture. And finally, Celtic fans still remember the Seville run with pride, even if the final didn't bring the trophy home. Mourinho's comments are a reminder of how highly regarded that Celtic side was across Europe. For Mourinho, that night wasn't just about a trophy. It was a test of character against a team that never stopped. More than 2 decades on, the respect clearly remains, and so does the connection to a night in Celtic's history. Mourinho may have employed the dark arts that night. However, even he knows how lucky his Porto side were to emerge victorious. With Henrik Larsson at his brilliant best and an unbelievable Celtic team who competed with the best in Europe, it was a final that didn't go Celtic's way. So, like I said, we will touch on it. But ladies and gentlemen, I would like to bring in our first ever popping in guest.
The 4-Leaf Clover Podcast.
Poppin'!
And there he is, the main man
Evening,
himself.
gents.
Welcome,
Ryan.
welcome,
How's it
Ryan.
going?
How
Thanks
you
for
doing,
having me
sir?
on.
How you getting on, mate?
Very well, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks to be very appreciative for the invite. I really appreciate it. Nice to see you all. Nice to be on.
No problem, mate. It's a game that we want to talk about, mate. Over 2 legs.
I don't
The
want to
first leg being at Celtic Park. Celtic won the match 1-0. Henrik Larsson.
Yeah, the infamous. Basically, your team talk for the second game, men against boys. Even though we lost 1-0, it was a good game. Obviously, we had. I remember the first 45 minutes we had a really good passing technique, keeping hold of the ball. And then I don't know why, after losing 1-0, you would say it was men against boys, and then coming down to Ewood, it was just all you had to do was turn up. Team talk was done.
Aye, it was the infamous comments from Graham Souness that sort of turned it on its head when we went down there. We sort of showed you up, and in that second leg, Larsson scored again, and then a former player of yours notched the second, mate, Big Chris Sutton, with a lovely header.
It was a great header. Luckily, he didn't celebrate too much.
So, I mean, what did you make of it? I mean, let's go back to that time. Did you think, did you have the English arrogance that, that you would just beat Celtic no bother, or did you look at Celtic as a strong opposition? And
no, obviously, Scotty, me and you go way back, and I never really got into Scottish football until I met you, and I've been I wouldn't say as a fan, but I've always looked out for the Celtic scores ever since we've been pals. Was at an arm distance, and I knew we were a pretty decent team, and it was interesting to see, because everyone's always had this argument. If Celtic and Rangers were to come down to England, they'd always be like cannon fodder or championship at best. And when you have players like Larsson, there's a reason why he stays and he sticks around. He was absolutely class for you boys. And when he came down, he just absolutely proved it. Even at his ripe old age of 36, 37, when he signed for Man U, he was still banging him in for fun. But never had that arrogance. I genuinely thought it would have been the other way around. So 60,000 at Celtic Park probably would have been 2 or 3-0. I think I remember saying anything less than a humping, I would have been happy with that. Everyone kind of thinks Blackburn at the time, Blackburn Premier League champions 7 or 8 years ago, decent team. We were kind of on the decline. We got relegated a few years later, but yeah, I'm just glad it wasn't an absolute pumping, to be honest with you. It was 2 great games of football.
Aye, and Paddy, what's your memories of the 2 legs? Obviously, Blackburn were a strong team at that point, but I think it was Souness's comments that really riled the players up. And as Ryan said as well, Martin O'Neill didn't need a team talk for that second leg. Souness done it for him. What's your memories of the two games, pal?
The memories of the first one, Scotty, were very, very clear. Blackburn actually played us off the park in Glasgow like no other team did in that run. Absolutely played. We got an absolute lesson that night from Blackburn. There's no question about that. I was there with my pals as usual, and I underestimated Blackburn myself. I knew they weren't the team they were, but and I thought they would give us a stiff opposition. But I never ever expected Blackburn to come to Glasgow and play the way they did. They dominated the ball. We certainly were nowhere near our best. And if it hadn't been for Rob Douglas, we would have been in major trouble. We were in major bother that night. And then again, when you look back, again, Henrik Larsson, just the difference in the game, and it's not even a half chance. It's a nothing ball that drops, and he's first onto it, and he rifles the ball into net. So for us coming out, we were absolutely delighted to have won the game 1-0. But, coming away from that, we were thinking, to go down to Ewood Park for the second leg, ideally, you would have liked at least another goal. You'd like to have something to, to get your teeth into and to hold on to. But definitely, I was very, very impressed with Blackburn. They were the only team who did that to us in that entire run that year. They were the only team at Celtic Park who did that. And then, to be honest, I couldn't believe it. I actually couldn't believe it when I heard what Souness had said. I actually couldn't believe it. And you only have to look at the post-match interview from Ewood Park whenever Larsson and Sutton were being interviewed after the game. And Larsson just said it. You don't speak until the game's finished. So that was a reference as if to say, do you know what? He made Martin's team talk easy. Martin would just, Martin O'Neill would have just have gone in there and pinned that on the dressing room wall and said, "There you are, guys. This guy has written you off." He said it was men against boys in your own backyard. Which it kind of was, to be fair, really the way Blackburn played. But, it was a big mistake, for him to, to come out and say that, and, Souness was bound to know himself that he couldn't back that up with the team that they had. They weren't Sutton and Shearer anymore. It was, they certainly weren't that Blackburn team who won the league. So for me, I just thought it was an absolutely, a catastrophic error from Souness to basically put that out there and to basically give the Celtic players the Give the Celtic players the kick up the arse that they needed after the first leg. We knew ourselves, the players didn't need to be told that they had let themselves down with their performance. And like I remember Rob Douglas, I think it was David Dunn, might have been David Dunn, Ryan. Would it have been David Dunn?
Yeah, it was.
A couple of 20-yarders outside the box, and big Rob down at the left-hand side, getting it round the post. They absolutely dominated us, and we found it hard to get into a rhythm. But going down to Ewood, Jerry will tell you, I was the same in the away end, and it wasn't pretty. We had been well warned before not to make ourselves known, So, but just different class. Celtic in the away leg just showed the class that they showed in Europe that year. We just went there, and Blackburn got off to a half decent start at Ewood Park, and you sort of thought this could end up in a real ding dong affair, but we just took control. And they weren't the only team in Europe. Like every year, every team in Europe, right up to and including Porto in the final, they couldn't handle the partnership of Larsson and Sutton. The movement of Larsson, the aerial ability and the strength of Chris Sutton to hold defenders off and knock the ball down, link in. And then you also had with John Hartson as well. We had big Hartson as well too. You had Alan Thompson, you had Stevie Guppy. These guys that played in England that knew how to play the game. So, to be fair, the second leg, I don't mean to insult Ryan, but the second leg was a bit of a stroll, to be honest. The second leg was a bit of a stroll for us. And as I say, I have no doubt about it. It just, that lit a fire. That comment from Souness just lit a fire under the Celtic players. And their attitude was just be, right, well, we'll just show them, you know what I mean? So, and they did, and when the second goal went in, it was unbelievable to be down there at Ewood Park, 3-0 up on aggregate, and just see the Blackburn fans just streaming out of the stadium. It was unbelievable. Just two really strange games. Two really strange games of football when you consider the teams and when you consider the outcomes. But they're just wonderful memories of that run, and a cracking atmosphere at both games. Big travelling support from Blackburn for the first game. And the Celtic fans were all over the place in Blackburn. We were all over Ewood Park because you could see them. You could see them every time something happened. So it was just lovely to see. It was just a great atmosphere. And we had been warned previously about. I know there's a rivalry between. I think it's Blackburn and Burnley, isn't it, Ryan? Is it Blackburn and Burnley would be the big one, right? So we had been warned about that. But listen, I have to say, the Blackburn fans that we came across were nothing but. They were just gentlemen, swapping scarves during the day and having a bit of crack and a few beer. There was no issues whatsoever. That was just wonderful, wonderful memories. And when we knocked out Blackburn, we knew we were onto something special. This is different here. We've knocked out a Premier League winner from a few years ago and a stalwart in the Premier League. So at that stage, we were beginning to think, this might be something very, very special. But just fantastic memories of two brilliant games. But for someone as experienced as Graham Souness, oh boy, monumental mistake.
Yeah, a massive fuck up for Souness. Thankfully, Jerry, looking back, mate, over the two legs, it's getting the juices flowing again. Speaking about this Seville run, obviously the final wasn't up to the result we wanted in the end. An amazing game, but what was your memories of the two legs, mate?
You know what, mate? You're spot on. It's just got the whole thing. Me thinking again that you wouldn't have changed it for the world. Obviously, love to have won the cup, but what a time! Even Martin Hill's teams at the time, it was just brilliant. Because I was younger as well, so it was great as well. We've been that younger, and just I was at the both games, and the home game for me, I must admit, I thought the boy Thompson, who did Blackburn, what a player!
David Thompson,
yeah,
what a player! Damien Duff was different class.
Yeah,
I thought they two were outstanding for Blackburn. And I think Celtic was very, 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 if I'm right, Paddy, very nervy that night.
Yeah.
The home tie. I felt even the Stuttgart game and they were all quite nervy. The home ties in Celtic. But the Blackburn game felt as if Blackburn maybe just edged it a wee bit in the first half, especially.
Yeah.
Second half, I think they put Big Hartson on. Took Lambert off, filter off. Big Hartson come on, get the header, and I think the keeper maybe saved it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. That's with me, Larson. I think it was the 84th minute.
Yep.
Me man was there just to do that one. That's what we talked That's what we need now. We Larson didn't need 3 or 4 chances. 1 chance, 1 sniff, 1 goal. That was the difference. But the home game was a bit nervy, but going down there was brilliant, Scott. Down the minibuses, fucking heading down. Brilliant early. Blackburn was brilliant. As Paddy says, the fans before the game, everybody's mixing, but you can see it was starting to get a wee bit more hostile. So I had a thing with Blackburn then, to be fair. So after Celtic scored, I kind of jumped up, but then I think the Dingoes for the Emmerdale were going to batter me. So a big family of them were going to batter me. My big pal Frank Lennon for Paisley. We get tickets for the Blackburn then. To be fair, my dad actually bought me them. He bought me and my pal. We were in a pub and he got me 2 Blackburn then tickets. And I went in there, but after Celtic scored, I had to get myself out. So I told us the Dingoes were going to batter me. So he got me in the Celtic end. And I was actually, you actually see me in the telly at the corner flag when Big Sutton gets a second and he actually comes out. So, you know what? Scott says, if this we're going to start talking about it next week or 2, it's getting, what a time.
Just to return the compliment, the 8,000 Celtic fans were absolutely class, mate. Absolutely class. All the fans that went down. Officially, we had 8,000 away tickets sold, but you could tell there was about 10 and a half maybe in amongst all the Blackburn fans. You were absolute class. Best fans we've had at Ewood for years.
Brilliant, right? It was great, mate. I think the problem is, I think there's a few fake tickets again getting in. I think a few Celtic fans got in with them first, and it started kind of. I think that was a kind of bit of a problem, but the stewards put everybody in there. They basically told you you're not getting a seat, but go and find wherever you wanted. I was happy with that, you know. Yeah. I was happy. I loved it. It was a great atmosphere, great day. But you know what? It was a great run the whole of the game. The story.
Great tie against Blackburn.
I don't know if you noticed in the second leg as well that O'Neill actually had Sutton man marking 2 guy, so he literally marked him out of the game. Every time he got the ball, Sutton was just all over him, absolutely battered his shins. It's class tactics.
Did see the other one and all, Paddy? See the bookies, obviously English bookies. They were giving you some prices on Larson to be first goal scorer of that full tournament, and he was scoring all the time. You're talking about 71, 61 to get the first goal.
Yeah.
We were underestimated. I think actually Graham should have stood. I think Blackburn came up to Celtic in the train, if I'm rightly so, to get off Glasgow Central with the suits and ties at the Glasgow Central to get a train up. And I think that's when he was getting a train back down soon as says men against boys. As you say, Martin O'Neill didn't need to do a team till then, you know.
No, definitely not.
And especially after the way his team played in the first leg. You know, that's what made it all the more surprising. You know, sometimes managers will be a bit disingenuous about a result that goes their way or against them or whatever. But, you know, Graham Souness's team had absolutely played out of their skins. And as I say, yeah, it was a tight game, but there wasn't another team. There wasn't another team dominated the ball in the middle of the field the way Blackburn did in Glasgow in that whole tournament. And I include Liverpool in that. I include Stuttgart. You know, there wasn't another team gave us a bit of a lesson. We got a bit of a chasing in the middle of the field. And as I say, it was only for the big solid defence that we had with like Mjalby and Baldy and Valharn and Big Rab and goals, you know, and stuff like that. You know, it was if it hadn't been for that, we definitely would have been going to Ewood Park behind. But we hung in there and we took the best that Blackburn could throw at us and stayed around. And you know yourself, if it's 10 minutes to go or 5 minutes to go and Henrik Larsson's in your team, you know, you're always liable to grab something, and that's exactly what happened. But definitely for me, coming down the road again from that game was definitely relief. Relief was the big one. I couldn't believe it. We had won the game 1-0.
Yeah. See,
I always remember watching
that team with some players in it. Andy Cole, York, Big Fido in goal, Big Boy at the back, and all, big centre half, Dunn. That was some team. Blackburn had.
I always remember watching Celtic games years on with Scotty, and obviously when you had big Bobo Baldy at the back, and every time he'd go and he'd clatter someone, Scotty would just lean into me and just go, "He's just been boboed."
Absolutely brilliant. So another player, and we've been linked with one of your players, Ryan. So I was hoping you could give us a little bit of a lowdown on him. 23-year-old Tyrese Dolan has been linked with a move to Celtic. He's out of contract, mate, in the summer. What can we expect if he pulls on the hoops, mate?
So Blackburn, we've got crap owners. You might know about our owners that they're really good at being bad. But one of the few good things they do is they keep our Category 1 status for the under 23s, under 21s going really well. Preston literally have a first team and then like an under 12 team. There's nothing in between. So Preston got rid of this lad, Tyree Stolen, in 2021, I think it was 2020. Blackburn took a chance on him. He made his debut away at Preston for Blackburn and absolutely rinsed them. 2 assists, a goal. He does a little backflip when he scores. He's a proper Jack Russell player. Jerry mentioned it earlier on. I was listening to you earlier on, and Jerry said about your off the ball work ethic. This lad, honestly, his engine is absolutely phenomenal. He's 23 years old. He's played something like 214 championship games, 23 goals, 23 assists in all. He covers something like anything between 12 and 16 kilometers a game. We had
perfect.
Yondal Thomason come in his first season in England, and we missed out on the playoffs on goal difference, and then it all went to pot because the owners changed the plan, and then John Eustace come in and kind of played him as like a bit of a right wing back. He can play across the front three, a false nine, left or right. His engine is absolutely brilliant. He's never had a class coach or class manager. He's always had like a head coach. Yondal Thomason, first one season in England, left. John Eustace, left Birmingham with their ridiculous owners when they were 6th in the league because they wanted to bring Rooney in, so never had a chance there. So really, he's never had anyone to have like an arm around him and to give him the way. He's going to be a class player. He's going to be if he does that, something you guys will get a tribunal for you because of his age. It'll be absolutely minimal. With Brendan Rodgers, if he has a couple of seasons with Brendan Rodgers, you're probably looking like a 15-20 million pound player there straight away for free. He's on $7.5 grand a week at the minute at Blackburn. They've offered a new deal to double his wages. He's not signing. He would have signed by now. He's obviously off. But we did hear Middlesbrough were favourites to sign him, but out of nowhere, Celtic have come in for him. I would love him to join you guys. I think he would absolutely annihilate that Rangers defence week in, week out. He would absolutely brutalise them.
That's exactly what I like.
Class player for you guys.
Exactly what I want to hear, mate. So while I've got you on as well, mate, we'd have to speak about Blackburn and Celtic have got a wee bit of an affiliation when it comes to sort of ex-players. We mentioned one earlier who scored in the game, Big Chris Sutton. Sorry to put that up again for you there,
That's
Ryan.
Fine. I don't hold any grudges.
Big Chris Sutton. Craig Bellamy, the strip behind you there, was a brilliant player for both clubs. Charlie Mulgrew went down there and done a good job for you as well. Brilliant, mate. And the one I want to speak to you about, really, mate, is the guy who changed everything for you was King Kenny.
Oh, the first manager to lift the Premier League trophy at Anfield.
So, what's your memories of Kenny Dow, mate? What is he still like revered down there in Blackburn? We still talk about him?
This year's the 30th year that we won the Premier League. I can't believe it's been 30 years ago. That's unbelievable. It feels like when you say the 90s now, it feels like 5 or 6 years ago. But obviously, 90s was like 20 odd years ago. That just proves how old we're getting. But he came in, I suppose Jack Walker kind of made Blackburn the Man City of the 90s. Obviously it was not the same amount of money, but it came in. He came in, totally transformed the town, the stadium, the culture, the team. We were in a horrendous, didn't win in 6 games, scraped into the playoffs on goal difference on the last day, won the playoffs at Wembley. And then obviously the rules changed for the league. So we went Division 1, went to the Premier League. So we kind of went from like Div 2 to the Premier League straight away. Finished 7th, finished 2nd, finished 1st. He was absolutely phenomenal for the club. What an absolute bloke! And to interview him, the reporters will always try and get something out of him and say, you've not been enough. Haven't won for 4 games. Man United are catching you. He'd be like, I know, yeah. Still 2 games ahead. 4 points clear. It's awful, isn't it? He was absolutely class for the town and for the club. Absolutely brilliant. He needs his own statue alongside Jack Walker. Definitely. Yeah.
Definitely, mate. He's very dry sense of humour, Glasgow sense of humour, and that's how you do it. Like Gordon Strachan as well, who was brilliant with the media. So just one last thing, Ryan, before I let you go. I did send you a message to tell you that you were signing probably one of the biggest clowns that's ever played in Scottish football. Todd Cantwell, how's he getting on down in Blackburn, mate, before you go?
So yeah, when he signed in July. You told me I'd absolutely hate him. I would absolutely fucking hate him. And I thought I'd give him the benefit of the doubt. I didn't really follow him too much while he was north of the border. Must be something about him because Norwich turned down 40 million from Arsenal. Must be something good about him. Must be. Anyway, did a bit of stats and everything. I told Scotty earlier on, my wife's birthday is September the 14th. He signed for us in July. He made his debut off the bench on September the 14th. And what I do is where I'm sitting now here, Paddy and Jerry, I play footy manager and I have like a little whiteboard because I have a few beers and I write down on my transfers who's coming in, who's coming out of Blackburn. Genuinely, September 14th, I wrote this on the back of my whiteboard. September 14th, 2024.
Yeah.
He came on the pitch. He was trying to do all these stupid moves, pushing his hair behind his ears, pulling his socks up. Honest to God, what? And he's Blackburn have broke their wage structure. 30 grand a week apparently he's on.
Wow.
I mean, for us, that's an awful lot of money. And he's played something like 38 games, 39 games, and 2 assists, 1 penalty. I don't think he's scored from open play this season. To be fair, when the new manager came in, the last 6 games he started to knuckle down and play well. But I mean, if we'd have paid, we paid 500 grand for him. If it had been millions, he'd have pelters thrown at him. He has been absolutely shocking. So you were right. I hold my hands up, Scotty. You were right.
Yeah.
Aye. Well, he was absolutely shocking up here as well, mate. If it's any consolation to you, Ryan. Thank you so much for that, mate. You certainly got the juices flowing.
Guys, thank you very much for having us on. Paddy, I hope your dad pulls through well, mate. And Jerry, lovely to meet you, mate.
Thanks, Ryan.
Pal, Ryan, lovely to see you, Paddy. Thank you, mate.
Keep going.
Absolutely, gentlemen. Cheers, mate. I'll speak to you soon, pal.
See you later, guys. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Ryan.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was
the 4-Leaf Clover podcast.
Ah, Ben!
Absolutely
What
brilliant.
age is Ryan? Scott,
Ryan,
age is Ryan?
Must be close to 40 now, mate.
Trying to work out when I was doing in Blackburn.
He must be close to about 40 now. I'm sure he's still watching, so you can send me a WhatsApp, mate, and let me know. He must be close to 40-year-old now. Absolutely brilliant, yeah. Absolutely brilliant getting that one.
Just to pay tribute to Blackburn that year, Scotty. What a year for Blackburn. I remember watching it. You know, it was one of the Premiership was kind of still in a taking off stage, but you know, the team that they had that year and the goals that they scored, you know, at home and away, you know, when you think back the memories, you know, we're just watching the Super Sunday and, you know, on Blackburn, you're thinking, can they do it? Can they keep it going? You know, they're being chased down by Alex Ferguson and Manchester United. And, you know, but just look at, you know, when you look at some of the names, Stuart Ripley, you know, Tim Sherwood, you know, Sutton and Larson, you know, Sutton and Hartson, you know, just unbelievable talent that they had, you know, just unbelievable team. And, you know, Kenny Dalglish, you know, you have to say what you can say what you like, but to get that guy, you know, and to have all those teams, you know, have all those players and all those personalities in that dressing room, you know, because that's what it took. It took big personalities, 1 or 2 big personalities to drag them by their boots. But they, you know, Blackburn, to be fair, you know, they provided such entertainment for everybody that year. I think 99% of the neutrals all over the UK were behind Blackburn that year. Not that I have anything against Man U or anything else, but you know, you just wanted to see them do it. A bit like Leicester when Leicester did it a few years ago, you know, and you were just willing them to do it. But obviously for us, there was the added incentive of Kenny Dalglish being the manager, you know, and the scenes at Anfield that day will, you know, they still live long in the memory. You know, when you can see the Blackburn players, you know, trying to find out, and then the scenes from the other game. I might be wrong. I think it might have been Manchester United and West Ham. But just what a season. You know, Big Sutton, Alan Shearer, my God, you know, the goals that those guys scored home and away. Alan Shearer was, you know, that season, Alan Shearer was absolutely on fire. You know, the guy was just different gravy. But just fantastic for Blackburn. As I say, I know I have family who live in Accrington. So I know they're all big Blackburn fans, you know, so it's just a wonderful, wonderful season for Blackburn. And, you know, as Jerry and me talked about before, you know, these are the things that you need to enjoy these, you know, because look at Blackburn, look at what has happened to them since. You know, they've gone down, they've gone down the leagues, they're trying to come back up again. So, you know, as Jerry said, for any of us who are, you know, if you're dubious about tomorrow, get out and enjoy it, because
Yeah.
it can change in a heartbeat. Football has a habit of of kicking you when you don't expect it. But my own personal memories of that were just that Blackburn team were just such an entertaining team to watch that year. Kenny Dalglish had them purring, had them ticking. You're talking Liverpool, Manchester United, Arsenal, Spurs, big teams, and Blackburn managed to hold them all off. So just must have been fantastic to be a Blackburn fan.
Aye, superb. That was brilliant getting him on there.
See, you're saying there, Paddy. I'm sure they won at Anfield to the last game, didn't they? Did they not Blackburn? Did they not win at Kenny Lucian?
No, I think they actually might have lost the last game, Jerry. I think Liverpool.
But Man United still drew and they won it, didn't they?
I think Jamie Redknapp I think scored a free kick. I think they actually lost the game, but they were still waiting on the score. And I think Manchester United and West Ham only drew. I think it was a draw.
That's mad, isn't it?
Well, it was unbelievable. What a finish that! To see Kenny Dalglish sitting. He's actually standing outside the dugout, and he's obviously the fans behind are telling him the score from the other game, and he's going, and then the whistle goes. Unbelievable.
It'd be the wireless anyway. It'd be mobile phones. It'd be yourself the radio. Somebody could be lying. You don't know if that's the right result or not. The days are waiting for the radio.
Yeah. But, I mean, even the Liverpool men, Jerry, the Liverpool fans were willing Blackburn to win it. They didn't want Manchester United to win it. They wanted Kenny Dalglish to win it. You know what I mean? So it's bound to have been surreal, but it was for me, just looking back on it, the entertainment that Blackburn provided that year, the goals they scored, the way they played, it was just so exciting. Just to see them coming like that there, and for Jack Walker, who invested so many £1 million of his money into the club, and that, what an achievement, absolutely unbelievable achievement, and. It must have been some ride for the Blackburn fans that year.
I think what you're saying there is, I think with Kenny, and I'm sorry for hanging Scott a wee bit longer, but I think it was for Kenny that year is because he was out it because of Hillsborough. He stopped managing because he was emotionally drained with Hillsborough. And for him to come back and win the league title was just phenomenal. Unreal. Do you know that way? Just for Kenny to do that, because he turned up at every one of their funerals, and for the guy to just come back and win the title for Blackburn was fucking brilliant, because it was a shame. He was emotionally drained. He'd have stayed with Liverpool longer if that never happened. But it was just great to just say Blackburn was great to watch. It's all right saying they had a wee bit of money, but if you don't spend it right in the first season or second season, and it was brilliant.
Yeah, well done, lads. That was good. A nice wee trip down memory lane. But it's segment time, and it's time for our Jerry for.
Who's that player?
Go for lads. So give the players here, lads. So I have who's played with Celtic. You know the rules. First three is 10 points, Paddy. 25. If they guess who it is. So here we go with the first player. Everybody get a pen and papers ready?
Yeah. All good, yeah.
I think Danny's medicine. Danny's medicine. So here we go. I have 72 caps for my country, Scott.
Don't know.
So you write that down, keep it in. Next one's you, Paddy, number 2. Neil Lennon signed me for Celtic.
No.
So we're on to the third one, aye?
Yeah.
I also played for 3 other Scottish clubs. So I have 72 caps for my country. Neil Lennon signed me for Celtic, and I also played for 3 other Scottish clubs.
I'll
That's
pass
a
it
10
in.
pointers for you.
I'll pass it in, mate.
Passing in, so going to 5. This is on to 5 pointers. I am 37 years of age and still playing.
Oh, I know who it is. Bastard.
And this one's the next one to you, Scott. Now you can get it with this one, can't you? Ready? I was the first player from the United Kingdom to play in Korea.
Effie Ambrose.
Nope.
Is it no?
No.
I'm going to have a guess and say Craig Gordon.
So I have 72 caps for my country. Neil Lennon, Craig Gordon.
Craig
No.
Gordon, yeah.
He's played in Korea. He was the first player for United Kingdom. He's still playing now. This is the next one. This is 5 points. I had 2 spells at Aberdeen.
Oh,
I want you to think about that. Put all that together.
Right, who's to go here?
So
I've not got anybody.
so Scott, Paddy, Scott, Paddy. Yeah, sure, Scott. I had 2 spells at Aberdeen.
And he's still playing.
Still playing.
Don't know.
No. Number
Charlie
7.
Mulgrew. Charlie
This
Mulgrew.
is going,
No playing.
number 7 going for 3 points. Get this one, Paddy. That's your chance. I moved from Derry to Celtic.
Yeah. Got it now.
So it has to be Niall McGinn then.
Yeah.
Correct. Well done, mate. Niall McGinn. Well done.
Got to say, Craig Gordon's in his 40s, is he not?
I was
Aye.
whenever I looked at it, I was just like,
3 points to Paddy there.
Yep. Well done, mate.
Number
That was a
2,
tough one.
lads. Number 2, we'll start with you, Paddy. I played for 5 Scottish clubs.
no, not for me, Joe.
Number 2, Scott, I made my debut in 1975.
5 Scottish clubs, 1975.
Made his debut.
Well, pass for now, mate.
Lots of Scottish fans and people can't believe I was never capped.
Never capped. Got to be Scottish, then.
So that's Paddy, Scott, Paddy, Scott. Number 4 for 5 points. St Mirren was my first club.
St Mirren was my first club.
Yep.
St Mirren. 5 Scottish clubs, 75. I'll pass it out, mate.
What are you, Paddy? Number 5. Billy McNeil signed me for Celtic.
I'm going to have a gas and say Billy Stark.
Spot on. Start.
Oh,
Was it Billy Stark?
Billy Stark, mate, aye.
Brilliant, mate.
Another 3 points. Well done, Paddy. Well
Brilliant.
done, lads. Well done. Back on to you again, Scotty. I've got 4 players, lads, all right?
Okay.
Here we go again, lads. I know the first few are always going to be that hard to take a guess at it. I have 57 caps for my country. That's
Pass.
number 1. Number 2 is for you, Paddy. I have played with 4 English clubs.
pass.
Number 3, Scotty. I had a spell at St Mirren.
"57 caps, 4 English clubs, and a spell at St Mirren." Fucking hell, man, that's a fucking toughie. I'm going to go for Aaron Moy.
Fucking spot on, by the way.
Is it?
Brilliant, Scotty.
Oh, that's a 10-pointer. My next one was I played.
I had to guess, mate, to pull it out the bag.
My next one is I played in China before I joined Celtic. Then number 5 was I retired
Usually
too
one I
early.
could think of, aye.
Know what I mean?
Brilliant. Well done,
Retired too
Scott.
early, didn't he? So
He
Scott,
did, aye.
I had to guess.
You get 10 for that. Well done, by the way.
Well done,
So I
Scott.
did, because I played in China before that joint and I retired too early. People's eyes. Well done. Good. That was a good shout. So we're on to the last player, lads. And I think was there a day we did start with Scott, Paddy. Is that back to you, Paddy?
Paddy.
Yeah.
So I picked up 57 caps for my country.
Again.
Number 2, I finished my career at Millwall.
Finished his career at Millwall. That'll pass now.
Number 3, I was born in England.
Oh dear. Right, that tells me he's Scottish. Played for Scotland then. That's a wee trick.
Pass for me.
Oh,
Last 10 points. We're on to 5 pointers. Number 4, I played with Man City.
Oh, God. I think I got it.
I played with Man City. 57 caps.
Who you going
Finished
for?
career.
Yeah.
Born in England. Finished his career at Man City.
Paddy Scott. And I Scott. I played in Man City.
Right. I've got to go for it because if I don't, Paddy's going to get it.
I wasn't bet on that, Scotty.
Nick McCarthy.
Mike McCarthy, bang on. Well done.
Yep,
The
that's
next
you.
one was,
Oh, that was a comeback.
the next one was I had 1 year in France.
Yeah.
And I don't get on. His last one was I don't get on with Roy Keane too much. That was another 5 pointers. So that was 15-6. Paddy at the first 6. Scott, you come back with that big 10 pointer. Well done, lads.
Well done. Well done. Jerry, that was brilliant.
Well done,
Jesus.
boys.
Brilliant, mate. Thank you very much. That was...
Who's that player?
Well, if you thought that was hard... well, so I seen it in the comments earlier. Can somebody message Andy and tell me came last in the conundrum already? But Andy's not here. So Andy's definitely not going to come last tonight in the conundrum. Right, I've got a belter for you this evening. I was thinking outside the box. I had a wee bit of time in my hands earlier on, so I come up with this one. So I've got 4 ex-Celtic players for you. Their first name or their surname is the same as a Best Picture that's won at the Oscars.
Oh.
So going to be very tough this, but they start off easy. You'll get the gist of it when you get the first one. Okay? So let's just give the first one a go, and then you should be able to get the film pretty easily. So your first one this evening, ladies and gentlemen, is Tersoff. Tersoff. So I need the name of the player and the movie, please. Your 30 seconds. Start now. Tersoff. Patrick.
I went for James Forrest and Forrest Gump.
There we go. See? Easy
Pack
peasy.
a box of chocolates.
Jerry.
Forrest Gump, mate.
It was James Forrest, and Forrest Gump was the best picture
Brilliant, man.
at the
Superb.
Oscars in 1994. So he's getting it now.
Get the eggs now.
Superb.
The first one up was Plunge, Forrest and Forrest Gump. Yeah, quite a few of you's got it. Like I said, they start off easy, but they certainly get a bit harder as we go along. So stop Googling the best pictures. Try and make this a bit hard for yourselves out there. Next up is, like I said, they're going to get harder. Rubik. Rubik. Your 30 seconds start now. Rubik. Jerry, I'll come to you first, mate. Who have you got? Say again, mate.
Get Buck, but
What's the name of the movie?
Buck Rogers.
Paddy.
I went for Oliver Burke, and the movie is Oliver, as far as I can remember. Oliver Twist or Oliver something.
It was Oliver in
Oh.
1968 was the best movie at the Oscars. Best
Oliver.
picture. Oliver. Very simple. Oliver Burke. 1968. Well done, Patrick.
Well done, Paddy.
Thank
See,
you,
that's
Jerry.
the difference. Paddy stays in a group all the time. I'm like,
So next up is Kado.
Oh my God, Katie.
you know.
Kado. Your 30
Kado.
seconds. Start. Kado. Paddy, who do you have?
Right, let me write down.
Come on, Paddy.
The only
Still
one I can
you,
think
yeah.
of is Ben Doak, and I went for Ben Hur.
Ben Doak, Ben Hur. Jerry?
Look, I've got Doak Vader.
Doak Vader. In 1959, Ben Hur was the best picture, and it was Ben Doak. Well done, Patrick. Again,
Thank you,
That's
boys.
what the 12 then, when this was happening.
let's have a look, see who got that.
What year did you say it was?
The film,
59.
1959, mate.
I wasn't even born.
But you
I didn't
we're,
even imagine it.
we're swots on this channel, mate. We're swots. Let's see who got that. Aye, quite a few. Quite a few. Ben Hur, well done. Ben Hur and Doak from Tommy.
Done.
Yeah, quite a few got that. So, last up for you this evening, gentlemen, is Rick Go. Rick Go. Your 30 seconds, start now. Rick Go. And we're back to you, Jerry. Who do you have? No,
Australian guy.
Australian. That's the one, aye. You're right with the Australian guy, Paddy.
Aye,
got-
Mad Max.
I've got Tom Rogic, but I've no movie, Scott. I don't know what the movie is.
Aye. Like I said, mate, the day get harder. That was a toughie. It was Tom Rogic. And the movie was the best picture in 1963 was Tom Jones.
Was
All
it? Okay. It shows, yeah.
There we go.
Only
Toughy,
up
that
on
one.
it.
That was very tough.
Well done, Patrick. That was... brilliant. And it wasn't Rita Sue and Bob too, whoever put that in the comments.
Very good, yeah.
Aye, well done, lads. That was a toughie. So let's wrap up the podcast. We have got some fixtures to talk about. It is Trophy Day tomorrow. As we all know, Celtic take on St Mirren. Dundee United take on the fledgling, shall we say, Aberdeen. Let's hope it continues tomorrow. And the Highbees are taking on the Rangers on Sunday. There is some prominent ties going on as well. I normally don't touch on these because they don't matter, but it looks as though a couple of them do matter. St Johnstone have been relegated, as we all know. But will it be Dundee or Ross County in those other positions? Kilmarnock, who have now got rid of Derek McInnes, take on Hearts. So he was hoping to stay to the end of the season, but he is now off ski. The league table, as we see, Ross County and Dundee have got it all to do tomorrow to see who finishes in that other position. Hibs, they are confirmed as in third position now, as we spoke about earlier. And Aberdeen could end up, after being flying high in second position, could actually end up finishing fifth, which is pretty unbelievable, really, Paddy, innit? Considering the start they had to the season. And Hibs as well, special mention for Hibs, who have managed to get third, who started off the season shockingly, really.
And you have to pay tribute to David Gray for the job he's done there. He looked as though at one time he was going to be another manager that Hibs pulled the trigger on very early in his time there. They really were struggling, but he has turned the thing around, and for them to be, they've gone from being in the relegation fight to locking up third place with a game to spare. So fantastic for Hibs, great to see. We saw the big travel and support coming through for the Celtic game. It was brilliant to see. They sold out all their tickets, and just great to see the big Hibs support through there. So let's just hope they can finish off in style tomorrow as well, and we can get that 20-point gap to finish the season off nicely with. So brilliant to see. And Aberdeen have just, I think we said that Aberdeen kind of imploded after we gave them a doing at Hampden. Yeah. They never really recovered. They picked up the odd result here and there, but they never got anything going consistently again. Down at the bottom, it's all to play for in the last day. And you know what? For the critics in the league who basically badmouthed the playoffs and in the top six, the bottom six, and all, there you are. You've got to the last game of the season, and there's there are things riding in both halves of the table. You've still got a potential for Aberdeen, Dundee United. I think looking at the table, maybe a 2-0 win for Dundee United puts them up in goal difference above Aberdeen, who might drop down to fifth place. And that's hard to believe when you've seen that Aberdeen team that came to Celtic Park and got a draw in, when was that, September, October, whatever time that was. Down at the bottom, I feel sorry for St Johnstone. They tried their best, they battled away, but I think that's 16 years. I think that ends 16 years of top flight football at McDermott Park. So again, that's going to be a big change for them. Is there going to be a big cut in their finances there? They're going to have to, probably a lot of players will have to move on because they won't be able to retain players on Premiership wages playing in the Championship. So a big blow for them, but still all to play for the likes of Ross County, Dundee. I've kind of got a soft spot for Tony Docherty at Dundee. I think he plays good football. I think Dundee, I like the way they play. I like the way he plays the game. He has them playing some good attacking football. They've got some good young players. So I wouldn't like to see Dundee getting dragged into that. So listen, it's all to play for those, and that's what I say. It's a slap in the face to the guys that criticise the. They say that this is a pointless exercise, this top six split, the bottom six split, but you're going to the very last game with very important matters to be settled at both ends of the table. So it sets it up for a lovely finish to the season.
It certainly does. And Jerry, something we spoke about earlier, looking at all those sort of fixtures, you know, where especially St Johnstone. Say again, sorry.
Stand up for the champions. It's part of Peter there.
Something had happened there. We spoke about it earlier, mate. St Johnstone, for example, it wasn't long ago they were winning trophies, mate, and now they're out the league. Paddy said as well, you know, the credit to the advert for this league, you know, it's been out with the Celtic, absolutely strolling it. It's been a great league, really, you know, very competitive, and some cracking games to come tomorrow and Sunday.
Aye. I mean, you've seen the teams maybe sitting so many points and they win 3 games, next minute they're up the top 5. They're chasing top games. That's how close it is. 1 minute in relegation, Scott, then 3 wins gets you. You just imagine being a manager that I say these teams. I think this is just fair play. This Johnston boy just come in, didn't he?
Yeah.
Actually, them going up as well.
They're keeping them on, which is good to see as well.
Aye. But as I say, Hibs come in there and just say nowhere, and all of a sudden has to made Europe. And I know it's going to change. Say, if folks say Celtic years went to England, the Scottish football would die, but you just don't know because the league's that tight with the rest of them.
Yeah.
You couldn't put any money on anyone in the league, could you? Hearts, Aberdeen, Hibs. How tight would it be to be right up last game every season? Do you know what I mean? But to be fair, it's been a great season. Celtic's been brilliant again. Time's been brilliant. As I say, Hearts and that's fell away. No great season. But the games are still to be played tomorrow. I feel you behind me for the first division team that comes up, the championship team has to play the Premier League team to get up. Like Livingston or Partick, they're playing tonight actually, aren't they? Partick and Livingston. I think maybe it should be something that 2 teams go up and maybe the 3rd team does that. Feel you, but it's a bit hanging that way. It's only 1 team automatically goes up in Scottish football. I think we could change that, Scott. A wee bit, because it's a bit unfair, and these teams like Partick, Thistle or Ayr United, they need to win like 4 games in a bounce, like Wednesday night, Friday, Tuesday. It's hard going for them. Yeah. So for me, that should be changed a wee bit. Maybe 2 teams should come up for that division, but maybe that might change soon. But any other teams don't really want to change it, don't they?
Yeah.
We're hoping they change to 16. But
aye, there is talk about it, mate. There is talk about it. So let's get on to the game that we're all waiting to get in about, Paddy. The Champions Trophy Day, Celtic St Mirren. Cameron Carter-Vickers is definitely back, as Brendan said. AJ will probably feature as well. Hatate really being the only player that's out. Who do you see starting between the sticks? Do you see Sinisalo keeping his place or Casper coming in? What's your starting 11, mate, and how do you see this game going tomorrow?
Do you know what, Scott? I think he'll go back to start the game. I think he'll maybe revert back to to his tried and tested again, because he's trying to give everybody minutes in the legs and as much match practice as they can ahead of this cup final. You heard him saying last week that he wants everybody to arrive at the cup final in the best possible shape that they can be. So I don't think there'll be that many changes like the way there was the other night. He always knew that was going to be the game. He was going to give the likes of Johnny Kenny and them guys a run at Pittodrie. But, this game tomorrow is a bit of a, it's a showpiece for us as well. And it's going to be a reward for the guys that, the guys that carried the load for the whole season. These guys don't want to be sitting on the bench when that final whistle goes tomorrow. These guys want to be out there. And as Jerry said, you just hope that we don't get somebody injured in what's a meaningless game. But, it's a meaningless game in terms of the league, but it's not really. It's a chance for Celtic to finish with a flourish. A bit of style, a bit of pizzazz. And give us some of that champion football that we've been watching. And as I say, I think he goes mostly with his whatever the strongest lineup he has, depending on if anybody's carrying a wee knock. But I think he will. This is a reward for the players at the end of a long, hard season. These guys will want to start that game tomorrow. So I'm going for Kasper Schmeichel in goal. My back four is going to be Alistair Johnson, Cameron Carter-Vickers. I'm going to stick with Nawrocki because he's playing well. And I'm going to have Greg Taylor in the middle of the field. At left back. Middle of the field is going to be Callum again, captaining the side. He's going to be partnered alongside Paulo Bernardo and my man Arne Engels. And again, it's the front three that it's the front three that's the one where I think there's going to be a choice as to who he plays. You've got Kuhn, you've got Maida, you've got Ida. And again, I think Maida has maybe been carrying a bit of a knock. So again, if he's, if Maida has been carrying any sort of a knock, I don't think he plays tomorrow. So I would be quite happy to go with a front three of Nicholas Kuhn, Adam Ida, and I would go for James Forrest. On the other side, I would go for Forrest. And the likes of Yang and McCown and these guys can get a run, when the points are secured. They can get a wee run when the points are secured. But I think he will try his best to go with the guys who have more or less carried the load for the whole season long. And when you see the number of games that, he said Hatate played 55 games. So, that shows you how many games McGregor has played, how many games Engels has played. Nicholas Kuhn's been a massive player. Cameron Carter-Vickers has been massive for us. Alistair Johnston. And as I say, these guys will all want to finish it off with a bit of style and set themselves up for the cup final the following week. My one prayer for tomorrow is that we get a goal from James Forrest. I just would love to see the whole thing being rounded off. What a day that would be to just, could you imagine the points being secured and Jamesy coming on with 15 minutes to go and scoring a goal? It would bring the house down, Scotty. Absolutely bring the house down. Say what you like about the wee man. He's had his critics up and down through the years, but what a servant. What an absolute servant to Celtic. In this day and age with players moving on, for James Forrest to be 16, 17 years with the same team in Scotland, it's just difficult to believe. And the wee guy deserves all the credit. And that's, what we said earlier, he's the wrong man to be talking about, getting the credit, because that's the last place Jamesy wants to be. He doesn't want to be in the limelight. Jamesy wants to push everybody else in there. But I would just love nothing better than to see Jamesy come on tomorrow and just score the goal. What a day for him. What a day for his family. Carrying on the trophy, to present the trophy to the players after the game, and celebrating that career with a goal in every season. What a day that will be for the club. What a day it will be for James Forrest. So let's just hope that he can round off the season with that goal that he so badly seeks.
What's your prediction for the score as well, Paddy?
Do you know, it's a tough one. Tomorrow's a celebration, but they will, Brendan will still have them reminded that it's a game. There's 3 points at stake. We desperately want to get as many points as we can. Maybe Hibs do a wee turn and we get that 20-point gap at the end of the season. It would just be lovely to finish off with that. So I'm going to go for 3-0 Celtic. So I'm going to go for the goal scorers are going to be my man Arne Engels. Arne's going to get one at long last. I'm going to go for Adam Ida, and I'm going to go for James Forrest to round off the scoring with the third one, which to me would just be absolutely unbelievable.
Aye, it would be great to see that, man. It would be absolutely superb. So, Jerry, what's your starting 11 for tomorrow, mate? How do you see the game going, and what is your scoreline prediction?
I've got two teams, mate. But as Paddy says, I think Brendan mentioned he was going to make changes into against Aberdeen. This time he's not kind of said nothing.
Yeah.
So I think Paddy's right with all the players, but will he start Forrest or will he let him come on to that's the one for me. I don't know if he'll just say. So I think Paddy's right with saying he's going to probably go with his strongest team. But I'd like him to, even before half time, don't be scared. Make the changes, Scott.
Yeah.
You know that way. 6 players. Just make the changes. For up 1-0 or 2-0 straight away. Just get them off. Don't take risks at half time. Get them off.
Yeah.
So I think you all start strong. I think I'm same team as Paddy, but I don't know Forrest or Wingler start. I had my team. I wish we could start with Paddy Bona, Paul the Tim, Happy the Hound, Paddy at left back, Michelle, Andy and Scott. Obviously I'm up front. I'm the star man. I'm going to go up front with wee Jane Kaiser. How's that?
Sounds good, Jerry. Yeah.
That would have been a. But as I say, no, it's in serious. I don't know if Forrest maybe just come on tomorrow, and I think it's going to one he wants. Even the players are desperate for the guy.
Yeah.
And Paddy knocked on it earlier. He's saying, did you see how embarrassed he was to get up to do the dance with the Celtic?
Yeah.
That just shows you. It was like somebody getting the mic for a karaoke for the first time ever, innit?
Yeah.
The boy just wants to just train, play football, and stay out the way. And it's a credit to him.
Oh, absolutely.
He's about his business, no headlines, no nothing. And I think every Celtic fan and player feels the same tomorrow. If he could get that goal and finish with 26 medals and hopefully 27 next Saturday, a great ending to the season. So that's my team. Same with that with Forrest, maybe on the bench. So I don't know what will happen, but that's the same kind of team, Paddy.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And what's your scoreline prediction, Jerry?
2-0 I'm going for, mate. St Mirren are quite a wee stuffy team.
2-0. Okay. Are you both going over?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll be there. Yeah.
That's us, ladies and gentlemen. If you are going to the Tron Gate tomorrow, please stay safe because you know what's happening on the other side of the city. I'm sure there will be clashes, so just keep yourself right, keep yourselves right. Stay in groups, don't be walking about in yourself and things like that. Please enjoy yourself. Guys, enjoy the game when you're at the game. I'm going to Marbella first thing in the morning, so I will jump on with Andy for the post-match show live from a nice little marina somewhere in
You're meeting up with Danny Dyer.
I'm meeting up with Danny Dyer and Tamar Hassan. So I'll certainly be partying after the podcast this time, not during it. And we will. I'll make sure there's some champagne getting put down my neck tomorrow afternoon for sure. So thank you very much, everybody in the comments. Thank you, Paddy. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you to Ryan as well, who jumped on. He was an absolutely
Ryan.
Well done, Ryan.
Myself and Andy will see you tomorrow, and everybody else will be back, or Michelle as well, on Wednesday. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And Paddy, I'm just want to give a last word to you, mate. All the best to your dad. Yep. Hopefully it gets a lot better soon, mate. And we'll see you on Wednesday night. Take care, everybody. Okay. All the best. And hail. Come on, now, champion. Cheers. Someday